Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the DFS Army Fantasy Football Show. I'm here, of course, with my guys. We got Brandon Adam, we got Mike Dickinson, and I am, of course, your host, Flex Shane. We today, gentlemen, are discussing our favorite flex plays for NFL Week 2, aka helping out with start sit decisions, chatting about players that we like. That these are decisions that everyday fantasy football managers are going to be making. Listen, if you are in a 10-team short bench type league, then it's a little bit harder to decide these flexes, but we like to get deep. We like to get nasty, and baby, we're going to help you out. So, Mike, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. Excited for week 2. Week 1 is kind of like an extension of the preseason. So what we think we know, maybe we knew, maybe we didn't know, but now we're starting to settle in. Like you got your weekly routine down now. Like you watch your Monday night games, you figure out where you messed up, you set your lineups for the next week, you run your waivers, you reset your lineups, you argue with your league mates. Like we're in the flow now. We're in the flow now.
Yeah. So Brandon, let me ask you this question, because this was one of our divisive players, one of our divisive rookies throughout the offseason. How are you feeling about Adonai Mitchell right now? Good, bad, indifferent?
I feel
more information.
More information, but he we'll be talking about him later more. But yeah.
Okay. That was a tee up, baby. That was a tee up. Well, I like to see it. So yeah, guys, looking back on week 1, Mike, to your point, it's definitely one of those situations where we're trying to get more information. And like last week, one of my flex plays was Chase Brown. Turns out Zach Moss is the guy until he's not the guy, right? So that's the type of thing where you have to kind of lean into it. And hopefully, as our chat starts to fill up here, we can start to answer some of these questions, because one of the hardest things, I think, after week 1, especially, guys, is for all of those upside plays, those lottery ticket type players like an Adonai Mitchell, like a Chase Brown, we have to start making decisions on, are we cutting these guys for the player that hit last week? Like, is Alec Pierce a thing, Brandon? Like, don't have to answer the question, but it's a general question.
It is.
Can we trust Anthony Richardson to distribute the ball to Michael Pittman? Like, what players are we prioritizing, and what players are we going to drop? And then of those ones we picked up last week that had amazing performances, which ones can we trust to repeat that? So, of course, we got our guy Clip in the house. We are in the flow of it, baby. We are in the flow. And so for those of you, by the way, who are just joining the program today, thank you very much. Where do we hail from, gentlemen? We hail from dfsarmy.com. And here's the thing. Like, a lot of the times we'll talk about how our members just absolutely crushed and smashed in their DFS lineups. But Brandon, last week, your prop bets, you absolutely crushed it. What was it again? You bet like how much? Like $50 to win how much?
It was a 6-leg, $50. It was Jaden Daniels rush, A-Rich rush touchdown, Ken Walker rushing touchdown. Who else? It was a few other more, but it was $50 to turn into $3,300, and then I hit another 4-legger that was for another G. So it was a good week. I literally was 3 reception yards from Alvin Kamara from another 4,000. So it could have been such a monster week for me. But that's what happens. Like, we got the edge right now versus the house. The house in Vegas don't know about Adonai Mitchell. They don't know shit about him. They don't know shit about Devon Vele. They don't know shit about all these guys that we have been scouring over the spreadsheets for all off season. And this is when you can kind of make some hay as a normal Joe, where you can kind of have some edge, because these Vegas guys just don't put in the work in the off season like we do. So the first month we can hit until the algos start coming, and then our time is done pretty much. But that's just how it works.
I like that. We need to start, and we're just talking about this on the fly, Brandon. We got to start doing like a Brandon's bets segment or something like that. Like, because listen,
let's hit a few before we do that. But I like doing big time long shot lottery ticket type things. It's more fun for me. I could care less about the grind of just trying to like rake in 20%. What I want to do is have a good time and make 50 into a few grand. So like that's fun. That's the kind of stuff I like to do. But this week I'll at the end, I'll give out a 3-legger that I think will hit. That's pretty decent odds.
Ooh.
I like that. I like that. And if we have time in the chat, our guy Flex Matt's like, hey, listen, we got to talk about the trash heap because we like to get deep and dirty in some of our like deep leagues.
Mm-hmm.
And our guy Flex Matt is let's call him his professional trash bin
shit talker. Yeah.
Shit talker. Let's go for it. So boys, let's not mess around. Let's get to our flex plays for NFL week 2.
He's my best friend. He's my pal. He's my homeboy, my rotten soldier. He's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
All right, Mike Dickinson, I'm going to throw it to you for who's your good time boy to start the week show today.
My good time boy? Well, I mean, I got a couple good time boys.
Other than Brandon.
That sounded really bad and really weird, but my first flex play.
Epstein.
Yeah, my first flex play this week.
Why'd you have to go dark, Brandon? God damn. Okay, go, Mike. Go.
Anyway, so my first flex play this week, I'm actually going to the Sunday night game, the Chicago-Houston game, but I'm not going the side that you think I am. I'm going on to the Chicago side. So we got Rome is questionable. Keenan Allen is questionable. We know what DJ Moore is, but he's going to see a shit ton of Derek Stingley. So for that reason, I am leaning towards DeAndre Swift as my first flex play. It's tough to go off week 1 numbers from last week. The numbers for Swift weren't great. The numbers for Jonathan Taylor weren't great running against Houston, but I think that had to do more with the fact that Indy's defense is kind of hot garbage and they had to shoot out. So the script kind of went away from Jonathan Taylor. I think what we've talked about this a lot internally. I think that Eberflus is going to want to control the clock and is going to want to try and keep that Houston offense on the sideline as much as possible, which means that he's going to try and grind it out with DeAndre Swift. The Chicago offensive line is immensely improved over what it was last year. Caleb Williams looked like a rookie in his first game. And I think that they will get him some of those higher percentage pass plays to Swift, some of those short dump offs out of the backfield to build his confidence. And I think that we're going to see some mid-tier RB2 numbers come out of Swift. But with where you're able to get him, you got him in that range where you're picking up those flex guys. So I like him a lot this week.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't think you can really argue that. Like, how do we feel about Caleb, guys? Like, obviously, I think we're still bullish as like on him as a prospect, right? But like, are we confident that he's going to be able to make all 3 guys? Let's say Dunze's healthy, right? A couple weeks from now, and they got Allen, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift. Like, do you think that on a weekly basis, Caleb is going to be able to make these guys fantasy relevant, or no?
Not all 3.
All 3 of them?
Not all 3. No. No. We said this. I mean, that's a problem as old as fantasy football, right? I mean, offenses that typically have 3 wide receivers that are studs, they end up cannibalizing each other, and some people don't end up, and they end up just being the same. Like they really nobody ends up being the alpha. You can say the same thing about the Texans right now with the target share cut up right now between Nico Collins, Tank, and Diggs. You can say that about them. So it's going to be a round robin of touchdowns, and consistency it's going to be tough. By the way, it's going to be a Tank Dell week. But that is what is the problem with the 3 wide receivers, with dominant 3 wide receivers. But with Caleb, I think Waldron needs to get his head out of his ass and just run the football a little bit. Let this kid breathe. Like you don't treat him like Aaron Rodgers right off the bat. You got to work him in, especially against that D-line against Tennessee. That D-line that Tennessee has is no joke. We knew this coming in. They were so pumped to freaking end this kid's opener. They were ready to do it. They were talking about it for 3 weeks before. So I think they had enough of Caleb Williams hype. They came in hot. But yes, with Rome out, though, I think you can really settle in on DJ Moore. DJ Moore is going to be that piece that gets moved around. He's going to be fine. Derek Stingley is a great player, but he does give up some big plays here and there, but he will make some big plays. So, but DJ Moore, safe play. But Keenan Allen, he was hobbling everywhere on that field this last week. On big long runs, he was not looking good, dude, during the game. I think it was hyper targeted towards Keenan Allen too in game 1, which was very weird, especially because he did have a heel injury. So I think it was just an overall dumb game plan by the Bears on the way they were supposed to do that. They needed to run the goddamn football, run Herbert, run Swift, get this thing into a nice rhythm and let Caleb breathe for a second. But that's not what happened.
No, and it's going to be interesting again this week. So, yeah, listen, DeAndre Swift is definitively a flex decision every week, I think, at this point. It's where you drafted him. I was a little bit off on him this season. As a player, as a prospect, I liked him. I think we all kind of liked him, but I don't know. He's showing that, one, he can't stay healthy when he gets to volume, and two, he sometimes doesn't produce unless he gets to volume. So it's that catch-22, right? So
Yeah,
I hope so. Listen, for the player, for the Chicago Bears, man, for my DJ Moore shares, I have DJ Moore all over my dynasty teams, guys.
He's gonna be fine.
Really just hope. Yeah, I'm confident he'll be fine, but it's going to be one of the situations where it's weekly. And yeah, Clip saying Tua was able to make both Hill and Waddle fantasy relevant. Yeah, and that's why they were drafted that way. I mean, listen, I don't want to talk too much about games that have already happened this week, but go ahead, Mike. What are you going to say?
Here's the thing I'll say, though. Mike McDaniel is not Shane Waldron. Mike McDaniel is Mike McDaniel for a reason. Tua was able to do that with Hill and Waddle because of who his offensive play call and offensive schemer is. I don't have a ton of confidence in Waldron. I mean, he had DK, JSN, Ken Walker, and Tyler Lockett up in Seattle.
Yeah, and he fucked it up.
He fucked it up. So he's got DJ, he's got Rome, he's got Keenan Allen, he's got DeAndre Swift. He might fuck it up again. Like,
we'll see.
I
hope not.
I mean, he came off that McVay tree, so you feel good about what his pedigree is, but like, I don't feel great. I don't feel great about it. And this was my hesitation with Caleb was him going to Waldron. Like, if Caleb had gone to a team like an, not that they would need him, but if he went to a coach like an Andy Reid, oh my God, he would be. I think we'd be seeing this amazing progression. He would have thrown for 225, 2 touchdowns last week. Then this week we would be looking at 255, 270, and then by week 4, 5, 6 we'd be seeing those 300 plus games, 3 touchdowns, maybe a pick sprinkled in there. But I worry about Caleb's progression as a pro under Waldron.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Listen, week 1 as a rookie, statistically,
always tough.
More often than not, like the first overall pick for a quarterback doesn't win games. Caleb won
hard.
it, not based on him, based on his team's performance, mostly based on that defense, which was ferocious last week. I had him in I play in one league, boys. I'm down to one league where we actually still need defenses. It's my home league. I've been trying to get off it, but I was streaming the Bears last week, and they definitely came up for me. So happy with that. Brendan, give me your next flex play, brother.
I'm gonna kick it a little old school with this one, and his name is Brendan Cooks. He's the wide receiver 2 for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think half of the fantasy football world even understands that he is. With the injury of Jake Ferguson, we are going to see a lot of red zone targets moved over to Cooks and more to Lamb, and we're going to end up seeing a target share bump that's already at 23%. So he's already at 23% with with Jake Ferguson playing about 2/3 of the game last week. So guess what? He gets to play the team that he left last, or that he left a while ago in the New Orleans Saints at home. He gets to run on that turf at home, and Dak first game back with the big contract. Dak Ferguson, first game back with the contract. I think we're going to end up seeing I could see target share bumping up to almost 26, 27%. And it's just going to be literally Lamb and Cooks and Rico Dowdle. I don't see a lot of Zeke. I think Zeke is just really, I don't know. His job description is yet to be written. I really don't know what the hell he's going to do there. But I just think Brandon Cooks is going to smash. The corner he's going against of New Orleans is Paulson Adebo.
Paulson Adebo.
Yeah, Adebo, and he gives up 8.6 fantasy points per game at this point. I think Cooks is going to end up seeing some deep targets and big plays off play action, and I just like him at home on that turf with a increased target share. He's a safe, nice, good play this week, and you can count on him to bring in you at least 12 points.
Is Fergie trending towards playing
Next week? He's not playing this week.
He's out this week.
He's been out. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And I'm shocked that he's going to play next week, because if you actually look at the injury where it happened, man, that was a big jolt to his knee. It really moved that knee quite a bit, and it was an off balance too, and you could tell that he it was, you could see it in slow mo. It was pretty brutal. So I'm shocked that I'm actually wouldn't mind him sitting another week, get 2 weeks off. That would be great for that MCL issue that he has. And yeah, I'm a little worried for Jake on his first game back. So that's until then, Brandon Cooks is going to be a solid play.
Schoonmaker filled in decently a couple years ago when he had to for Ferguson. So if you're in a tough spot for tight end, you can look to Schoonmaker.
Already did it. I have him in a super deep league. It's our $500 dynasty team, dude, and I'm literally throwing in Schoonmaker because I have Fergie and Musgrave, and Musgrave did absolutely nothing last week. I was disgusted with his performance. Tucker Kraft looked so much better than Luke Musgrave. It was crazy. So I don't know. But yeah, Schoonmaker is all right. That's an all right play.
So we don't really have any Packers on the flex show this week, but general sentiment, like, I think you can still probably play Jaden Reed, but I'm not touching anybody
He's hurt.
else. Well, he's hurt, but he's still expected to play, right?
But
Christian Watson is boom bust. Dontavian Wicks was a nothing last week.
Dead.
Yeah, so that one's going to be tough. How do you guys feel with Josh Jacobs? You can start him, no issues, right?
Start him.
That's the one guy
he's going to score. Dude, yeah. Indy is horrific. I mean, people don't. That's another reason why I was out on JT, is that the game scripts that they're going to be in are going to be some big time shootouts, and they're going to have to throw the ball a shit ton to catch up. And with the way they performed last week, they are going to struggle. They're going to be on the struggle bus all year on defense.
Not the short bus?
No,
not the short bus. Struggle bus.
Different. But I think if you look at what Barkley did to Green Bay last week, Steichen is from that Sirianni tree. Yeah. They run a very similar style offense. I think JT is going to have a bounce back.
Oh yeah, I like that. I like that. But Anthony Richardson is going to run a TD in 100%. I'm like,
believe it. So let's believe this one, guys. The Detroit Lions are for real, right? We can all agree on that. And that you saw it last week, and we kind of saw what this player could do in overtime last week when you just give him the damn ball. My flex play, and yes, Michael, he's still considered a flex play as the RB17 drafted, but I think David Montgomery, man, like I have him in a few of my dynasty leagues. I didn't end up getting him in any of my season-long leagues, but I have that decision, and I'm comfortable starting David Montgomery. I'm almost at the point now where he's like an RB3 weekly, so if you need to start him, especially like in a 0.5 PPR type league and lower, like start David Montgomery. I think he's got a fantastic matchup this week. So last week versus the Rams, the Detroit O-line performed absolutely masterfully, gentlemen. They gained 1.8 yards before contact. Now, this is per PFF. Then you bake into the fact that David Montgomery's true yards per carry is 5.2 yards. They're just going to continue to hammer the ball, and that's how they're going to win, I think, this week. Ultimately, what it comes down to is I think, at least my narrative coming into the season was that Jahmyr Gibbs was going to continue to, it was more of a 50-50 timeshare last year. I thought it was going to be closer to 60-40, maybe even like 65-35 type situation, but it really remains like a 50-50 split. And the thing is that if you're expecting David Montgomery to score anything through the air, you're probably going to be disappointed. But ultimately, he's going to get touchdowns. He's probably going to get at least a touchdown. He's going to get an opportunity for a quick run that he's going to break. And I think, this week he's actually going to smash. So I love Dave Montgomery this week. I think that if you're considering him even as like an RB2, say you've got like a Devin Singletary and you kind of just punted the RB position, like Dave Montgomery should smash this week. I'm totally comfortable putting him in there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like it. Sewell popped up on the injury report, but he's listed as questionable, but I think he's probably going to play this week. I have Montgomery in a ton of seasonal rosters this year because I kind of flipped it. I went hero RB early, so I have a lot of Bijan and Brees. I went that with where I fell in the first round. That was kind of where I was drafting, and then I went, 3-4 rounds of wide receiver, and I ended up with Montgomery as my RB2. So I'm playing him because I have to play him, but that was a roster construction by design. So I'm completely fine with it. I like it. I think that as the season progresses, you may see the usage shift a little more towards Gibbs, but I think that from a skill set, I think that I love Gibbs. Like he has the potential to be RB1 every single week. But I think that from a philosophical standpoint, when you look at the Lions were a coaching decision away from the Super Bowl last year. They really were. If Campbell had kicked that field goal, they're probably going to go to the Super Bowl. Or they at least have a better shot. Like they're a coaching decision away. So from that standpoint, my thinking kind of working through drafts this year was they don't need to change anything from an offensive philosophical standpoint. So because they don't really need to change anything, why are they going to change anything, at least at the onset of the season? So I was great getting Montgomery in that 5th, 6th round, knowing that early on it was probably going to be a 50-50 split because they want Gibbs later in the season as they're making their push.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then if you just look at how Vegas is viewing this game, right? Over-under is right around 50 points, and the implied team total for the Lions is 29, which means they're expected to be over a touchdown up, going up against Tampa Bay. Now, I think it's going to be closer. So if I'm just betting that game and with the line, I would probably favor Detroit to win that game, but I think that Tampa Bay would cover. But Vegas is saying that Detroit's going to be way up in that game, so that'll be an interesting one. I think start Monty with confidence, guys. Let's answer a few of these questions that are in the chat here. So we got one from our guy Bali. This one's interesting. So we got Terry McLaurin or Zach Charbonnet in a half PPR. This one's tough because it's as of right now, Ken Walker is doubtful to play, which generally means he ain't going to play. So Zach Charbonnet going up against my Patriots this week. It's going to be interesting, but I think I'm still leaning Terry McLaurin in this one, guys. He's one of my honorable mentions going up against the Giants. And one of the things that Terry McLaurin does well is a deep ball. He is actually expected to be shadow covered by Deonte Banks, who last week on average, he allowed 17.6 average depth of target to his defenders, and TMC 8 last week at 19.5 ADOT. Yes. So, I mean, listen, TMC is going to continue to just absolutely dominate. He's the lead wide receiver in that offense. I think just even in a half PPR, just the volume alone, I think I favor that. And listen, guys, as much as we shot on my beloved Patriots all off season, they look good last week. They're well coached.
They won.
And they won. They won the game. So it's close. I think this one's closer than you think, but I'm leaning McLaurin. Brandon, what do you think?
No, it's Terry. It's Terry for me. It's because of the matchup. Mm-hmm. I think Jaden Daniels is going to connect on a couple of those deep balls to Terry. He was very close to do it last week twice. The rookie, there was some really close big plays that could have changed the outcome of fantasy football boxes that were close with some players and Terry was one of them. That's why, I mean, I said all offseason, I don't like Terry as a wide receiver one. I don't think he is a wide receiver one in fantasy football. He's never been. I mean, he's been it once, I think. 1 year he had a year that he was close, but he just has never been that guy, and he's been in the league for a long time. But he can make plays. I like him this week. Banks is atrocious. The Giants are terrible. I like Terry.
Do you agree, Mike?
Yep. Yeah, I do.
All right, cool. Let's move on. Yeah. Okay, we got Niners Worldwide in the chat here. He says, I put Hollywood Brown on IR. Me too, brother. That was tough. That one's tough. And he now has a bench spot. So should he pick up Demarcus Robinson? Obviously, Puka's hurt. Rashid Shaheed, who had the big bomb last week, all he does is catch long touchdowns, just rarely. Or Brandon Cooks. So I think for this week, guys, to me it's between Robinson and Cooks. Brandon, you've got Cooks obviously.
It's not even close. It's Cooks.
You think it's Cooks?
Cooks. Yes, it's Cooks. Denard Robinson. What are we talking about? Brandon Cooks, number 2 on the Cowboys. What are we talking about?
Yeah, Demarcus Robinson could be unseated by Whittington or by Johnson.
Tyler Johnson.
So, Tyler Johnson. I picked him up in a
Tyler Johnson looked good.
He looked real good. Yeah. So it's definitely Brandon Cooks.
Thank you.
Okay. No. All right. I'll go with the with the group there. I was gonna leave. I think it's closer than you guys are saying between Demarcus Robinson and Brandon Cooks. It's closer than you're saying, but I'll go with the
Demarcus Robinson was a force at the end of the season last season, but they added Whittington and they added Johnson. That's the only thing that if they hadn't added those two and those two hadn't shown, Whittington showed in the preseason and Johnson showed last week, then I'd be leaning Robinson, but those two showed.
If Brandon Cooks doesn't get 5-6 targets this week, I will Venmo you $25 personally, dude. The Niners guy. I will literally Venmo you $25 if the Brandon Cooks does not get 5 to 6 targets without an injury happening. Okay? If he plays the game, he's gonna get 6 targets. I'll give you $25. There's your cover for your league.
There you go. All right, and let's help clip out here before we get to our next flex plays. Just with this is more of a dynasty type question here. I'm assuming this is a dynasty question, right, Clip? Or is this? I'm just going to go, because we're talking about 3rd round picks. Okay. So, would you trade Ramondre Stevenson? So we're trading away Ramondre for Pat Freiermuth, Calvin Ridley, and a 3rd in tight end premium. I know what I would do. What would you guys do, Mike?
That's tough. I mean, I guess it depends on what you're looking to do. I was hoping I would see a lot more out of Freiermuth last week, and I just didn't. I think this new coaching staff really likes Ramondre. I think I'm staying on the Stevenson side.
Yep, I'm staying with Stevenson. He's legit. The guy gets the ball thrown to him. He gets all the red zone looks. Like you want Ramondre in your lineups. Yeah. I screwed up not playing him last week because I had.
I did too.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Ramondre for me. Listen, Pat Freiermuth, like he's a great NFL tight end. He does a lot of things right. Yep. Coaching staff loves him. He just got paid this year. He's just not a difference maker in fantasy football. He's just not. I've got a league where it's a tight end premium, which again, to me, like the point scoring doesn't really move the needle for a lot of these deeper guys, other than if it's 2 tight ends or 1 tight end you're starting. Okay, so if it's 2 tight end league, Pat Freiermuth has a lot more value. If it's a 1 tight end league, tight end premium, so 1.5 PPR or higher, he just doesn't move the needle, man. I'm starting him because Ferguson's hurt, and I don't like it. Like I'm praying for 10 points, which is going to be tough, even in a premium league. So I wouldn't do it. Brandon, where are you at in Calvin Ridley this year? Like, where are we at? Where should we be at Calvin Ridley? Like, he's a flex too.
I mean, we can't really say shit. They played one of the best defenses in the league last week. Yeah. That's the I mean, they started running the ball a little bit, which was nice to see with Pollard. But to be honest, I don't want to answer questions about usages. I don't want to ask questions about what these teams are turning into or how good they are. Or Caleb sucks or fucking Jaden Daniels is terrible. It doesn't matter. This was week 1. Talk to me in week 6, and then we can establish patterns and trends, and we can figure out this thing. But until then, we need at least a month, guys. At least 4 to 6 weeks. We need it. Because until then, it's really useless and it's just conjecture, and I'm just guessing.
I think that's fair. The other question,
but Ridley, he's going to get crazy target share. Ridley's going to get target share, man. I think he's going to get nice target share. Callahan did move him around quite a bit. The dude gets locked up deep. Like you can see that he is not a deep ball runner, and the last 2 teams are trying to make him become a deep ball threat. He is not that guy. Like, he needs to be intermediate and drag routes and quick off the ball stuff, off ball, screen game. That's Ridley. Ridley is not this I'm going to moss you deep down on the boundary kind of guy that the Jags were using him like last year. And it seems like the Titans want to do that because Levis is a play action deep ball thrower, right? So that's what they want to make this guy into. Unfortunately, they paid a guy that's not that guy. So they're going to have to figure that out. They're going to have to work that out and get him, if they want to throw deep balls, throw it to D-Hop. But he's not healthy yet. So,
yeah, and I would say that, if you're trying to make a decision to start Calvin Ridley this week, like he's got an easier matchup, I'd say, this week against the Jets, right? So,
yes.
All right. Okay, let's move on to our flex plays. I see there's a few more questions in chat here. We'll come back to those. Mike, who's your second flex play, brother?
We talked about this game a little bit. My second flex play, I am going to Washington. What are they now? The Commanders? I don't know what the heck they're called anymore. They're the Commanders. All right, great. Well, I'm going there. Commandos, yeah. I'm going to Brian Robinson.
There we go.
We saw it out of him last week. We saw what Jaden Daniels did or didn't do, and I don't think that was as much about Jaden Daniels as it was about Cliff Kingsbury. I don't love Cliff Kingsbury. I've never been a massive Cliff guy. I think that I was hoping that we were going to see a little bit more creative side of him. He was going to open it up a little bit more. We saw Jaden air it out in the preseason. His very first pass of the preseason, he aired it out. He threw a fucking dime, just dropped it right in there, but we didn't see that much. So I think that this is another one where they're going to look to control the pace of the game, control the line of scrimmage. The Giants are hot garbage. And I think it's a big B-Rob game. Yeah.
I agree with you. They're going to be winning he was one of my smash flex plays. He is in in the parlay that we are talking about at the end. B-Rob is going to be in the end zone this week. He is the undoubted workhorse of that offense. This guy has been getting. He must I'll shout out to Maddie. He took him in some of our leagues, and he is very comparable to so many guys that are in the top 15. He's right there. And he's taking that leap this year. I like him a lot. Eckler is really not threatening that much. Terry, the problem with Terry, I think, is going to be all year is that with Cliff Kingsbury, he likes to lock in his boundary wide receivers, right? So he did that with D-Hop. D-Hop never left the X under Cliff Kingsbury. He never got moved around, never was creative. That's kind of like what this Texas Raider offense, the Raider offense he ran out of college, is that each guy is locked into their roles and they kind of just go at pace. And that's how they beat you. They work you on pace. But with this team, they don't have enough talent. They got rid of Dotson, another TD threat on the opposite side of Terry. So Terry is going to be getting a lot of coverages. So I'm curious to see how they're going to beat the coverages with Terry after this game, because this game with Banks, he's horrible. So it doesn't matter. But I think Washington absolutely controls the hell out of this game and smashes the Giants. So yes.
Daniel Jones is so cooked, man. He's just so cooked.
Yeah.
Frig.
Yep.
Okay,
but
no,
Lock is going to play this week, maybe.
Is it going to? Well, no, not this week.
It might happen. You never know.
Isn't Locke still hurt?
Is he? I haven't checked his.
I don't know.
I haven't caught up with Drew Lock in a while.
Yeah, unfortunately, Drew Lock's not exactly on our radar in terms of fantasy football impact. Really, what it comes down to.
No, but hey, man, but he made DK. He throws it up to DK when he was in Seattle. So, I'm cool with that for Neighbors. Just give it to Neighbors, man. Jesus. Yeah, it's not that hard.
For real. All right, Brandon, let's get to one question here, and then we'll kick it to you here. So we got Bali again. He needs one. Okay, so I'm assuming this is a super flex here, but Caleb Williams, Geno Smith, Derek Carr, Justin Fields. I'll throw it to you guys first, but I'm leaning Fields. What do you think? So Derek Carr had a monster week last week. I think against Dallas this week he's going to be come back down to earth. Caleb Williams, still don't totally trust him to start him. Geno Smith's going up against the Patriots, which is going to be tough. We saw what Joe Burrow did last week. To me, let's go upside Justin Fields. It's tough,
I don't know. That it's between Caleb and Fields for me. Fields definitely has a floor because of the rush of ability, so that's nice. Can he make George Pickens anything against Patrick Surtain? I don't think that's a tall mountain to climb for George Pickens this week. So I don't know about that one. But Caleb Williams, God damn it, I believe in Caleb Williams. Okay, Caleb Williams is gonna have 20 points this week. This is going to be a shootout against Houston. He has to sling it against Houston. They're going to have to move the ball. They're going to have to catch up. They're going to have to throw it deep on Derek Stingley with DJ Moore. If they can get DJ Moore running, they got a shot. I'm not benching Caleb Williams. I'm going to start Caleb Williams. I know it's not the safe thing to do. I know it's not. But I just think the environment with Caleb Williams of that game, I just feel like there's going to be touchdowns in that game.
All right. So we got one Caleb, we got one Fields. Mike, tiebreaker.
I'm probably going Fields. I'm probably going Fields.
He's going Fields.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, so Bali, if you were to go to dfsarmy.com, check out my favorite tool on the website. That's the matchup tool. We have them projected pretty much identical, 18.8 points in regular scoring leagues. So probably a safe play. Ultimately, I trust Fields just for the rushing. A little bit more reliable. So that's it.
I got you.
Okay, cool. All right, Brandon, give us your flex.
Man, yesterday was Friday the 13th, and I decided in honor of Friday the 13th, the resurrection of my dear boy, one of my favorite running backs coming out of college, J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins. Oh, my God, J.K. Dobbins. This man has been through it. This man has never given up. If you want to hear an inspirational interview, listen to Pat McAfee show this week with J.K. Dobbins after this game. What a good dude. He has the same exact play caller that he had in Baltimore for his whole career. They want to run the living shit out of the ball with the LA Chargers. He had 10 attempts last week for 135 rushing yards. That's 13.5 yards a touch. Scored one touchdown scored over 20-something points in fantasy last week, and nobody played him probably. Not one person played him probably because everybody was thinking it was Gus Edwards. But if you look at the two run the ball last week, you will see JK still has some goddamn juice, doesn't he? He still got that juice. And until he shreds his next ACL or his next Achilles or his next PCL, I'm going to play J.K. Dobbins in this offense with that line, with that philosophy, with that culture against the Carolina Panthers, who are the most pathetic NFL franchise in the league. They are going to be leading this the whole way. You bet running backs to score with teams that are going to be controlling the game. Give me the Chargers. Give me J.K. Dobbins. Give me J.K. Dobbins at plus 150 for a touchdown. Tud. Give me that all day long. It is a miss. The book's fucked up on that. Like, they don't have a clue what is going to happen this week with the running back situation there. J.K. Dobbins is part of my parlay if you want to stick around. But J.K. Dobbins is going to get more touches this week. I see him getting more work this week, and they're going to control the hell out of the ball. They're going to win this game 20-3. Like, it's going to be something like that, and JK is going to end up being 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Watch.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I think ultimately the whole narrative, the entire offseason was the Chargers are going to run the ball. The Chargers are going to run the damn ball. And guess what? We thought it was going to be Gus Edwards. We weren't sure about J.K. Dobbins. Late sign. Guess what? He looked legit. What's up, Brendan?
And guess what? We were the only fucking pod that said, sell Justin Herbert. We told you to sell Justin fucking Herbert months before the decline, months. You could have literally got yourself Anthony Richardson for Justin Herbert. And if you would have listened to this pod, you could have got yourself Kyler Murray, Caleb. You could have got yourself anyone. Jordan Love, before he got hurt, was a smash play as well that we could have done. Justin Herbert was the biggest dynasty sell of the offseason and knocked it out of the park, and we smashed that because it's about culture change and it's about philosophies. And guess what? Jim Harbaugh doesn't give a shit about fantasy football. He cares about winning football games, and he wants to do it on the back of defense and running the rock. That is why the Chargers, J.K. Dobbins, until he breaks, you start him every single week. Period.
I love that. Looks like it's pretty cheap too. He's only $5,400 on DK and $6,800 on FanDuel, so a little bit more expensive on FanDuel.
Better on FanDuel.
Yeah, that's why he's higher priced relative to the salary. But yeah, I don't really have much to add. I think you kind of nailed it there. Let's get to a question here. We got another question from Niners Worldwide, and now this is deep. Okay, so which RB would you add out of these three? Okay, so we're assuming nobody else is on the waiver wire. It's going to be between Rico Dowdle, Tank Bigsby, or Bucky Irving. It's not Rico. It's definitely not Rico. To me, it's between Tank Bigsby and Bucky Irving. Man, I don't know. This one's tough for me, Mike.
Give me Bucky.
Dude, Bucky looked fucking nice last week. I have a real long parlay, like a moonshot one that has a Bucky Irving touchdown, and the way he looked last week. How do they not give him some more work? Like, I don't see how they can't. You're going to end up seeing a lot of Rachaad White catching the football, but some of that rush work he was getting last year is going to go to Bucky, and that's who it's going to go to. So that put as many as you can of that game, of the Bucks Detroit game, like that game is going to moonshot. There's no way that game doesn't go over. No way.
I'm not recommending starting him. I'm recommending adding him.
Picking him up. Pick him up at least.
Pick him up.
Yeah, this wasn't a start-sit decision. This was a who should I add as a lottery ticket. What about Tank Bigsby, man? A lot of people are out there. A lot of smart people are saying Tank Bigsby is the best running back in that backfield. I don't buy it. Travis Etienne is not so special. Chance. Like, through the air, he's just – it's the same thing, honestly, with Rachaad White. What's going to protect both of those guys' positions as lead back is the fact that they can still do everything. They're still hyper elite in the passing game. And that matters because when you're back
Bucky,
there,
a beast in that. Rachaad White better watch out. Bucky Irving is a beast out of the backfield catching the football. That's what that dude did. So yeah, I like Bucky Irving a lot. Yeah.
That was Rachaad White's college profile too, though. Don't you remember when he was coming out?
It was
his target share, his dominator rating. Like that was what he did. That was his thing.
He had like a 19% target share for his college team or some shit, like
target share. Yeah,
it was crazy.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, let's go T-Money. This is without having context of league size, with how many wide receivers you start. Straight up in a vacuum, are you trading DK Metcalf for Kana, which is Kenneth Walker? By the way, for those new in chat who were asking. I don't know. It honestly depends. Like, it depends on your depth. Do you have a lot of wide receiver depth? T-Money, we need a little bit more information. So really, it's how many wide receivers are you starting? If you're starting 3, then yes, I'd probably lean DK Metcalf. If you're starting 2, I'm probably leaning K9. Ken Walker's still the de facto one in that offense, but we did see Zach Charbonnet get usage, and Zach Charbonnet is good.
Yeah, once Ken got hurt, that's when the use. I watched. All right, let's talk some Seattle football here.
Let's talk some
DK.
Seattle. Hey, Brandon.
DK.
Brandon, pause 1 second. If people like Seattle football and they like listening to you talk, which who wouldn't? What else can they listen to you and maybe our guy Flex Matt talk about Seattle football?
Yeah, you're gonna catch us tomorrow morning. We're gonna pod tomorrow morning before the game for the Undroppables, the Uncovered series of the Seahawks. Come follow us on our Twitter handle, and we will be posting all the links out for that, or the Undroppables will as well. Just check us out. We do go on live on Twitter, YouTube. You can catch us that way. And yeah, we're gonna chop it up. We were trying to get some Patriots people on the pod. Do you want to join us, Shane? Maybe you can represent your your Patriots if you would like to. But we had a bunch of guys that dropped. We had some scheduling issues with the Patriots guys. So, but anyways, but yeah, Seattle, DK, K9, before this stupid injury, this oblique injury that can't get past. I don't know what's going on with this injury, what it is. Last year, it was a sports hernia. Supposedly, they had surgery on it. Supposedly, it was fixed this offseason. So it's a little worrisome that it's back after game 1. Like, so that's not good, dude. So as of right now, because of the injury issue, it's DK. But before this week, I would have been screaming Ken Walker the whole time. I would have been screaming Ken Walker. But the injury is a real issue. So if you are a little bit of injury, like if you don't care much about the risks, I would probably go K9 for the future and moving forward because he is the 3-down back in this. He was getting like 75% of the work until he got hurt. So he is that dude. He is explosive. He is that possible workhorse back that you could have took in the 5th round of drafts this year that ends up finishing top 8. He could do that. So I have a hard time seeing DK finishing as a wide receiver 1 right now. I just don't see it. I really don't.
It's gonna be tough, man. Speaking of Seattle Seahawks, just kind of put a bow on JSN. Like he's not. Is he droppable yet, or are we still keeping him on our bench? Let's say you have 6 bench spots.
Keep him on your bench because if Lockett gets hurt, then it
Yes.
consolidates down. But like, what kind of world are we living in where we're waiting for 31-year-old real estate mogul Tyler Lockett to get hurt so JSN can be a thing? Like, come on,
crazy.
Sell
It's
some
crazy.
fucking houses, retire, let the boys be the boys,
Dude. And the funny thing is,
let's go.
Jason's first 2 targets were like back to back, and they were nasty catches, nasty yak. After I was like, oh, it's happening, and then they didn't go back to it at all. DK was locked up. They didn't even go back to JSN. They went right back to Lockett for like he was right back to what he was last year. It's just crazy. I hear you, Mike. Why do we draft this man if we aren't going to use him? I don't get it.
Well, in the words of a previous Seattle Seahawks coach, Brandon, do we win the game in the first quarter? No. Do we win the game in the second quarter? No. Do we win the game in the third quarter?
No.
We win the game in the fourth quarter. And that's why I'm going to say keep JSN on your bench because in the event the Tyler Lockett gets hurt, or DK Metcalf gets hurt, JSN is going to be locked in, weekly starter. Have faith. The talent is there, people. Have faith. The talent is there. It's the damn usage. So, okay, boys, I'm going to move on. Let's talk about my last flex play of the week. And I'm just, I like to go back to the hits, right? This was a guy that I probably talked about way too much last year. He honestly disappointed a little bit too often, but I'm going back to the well, baby. I'm going Justice Hill this week going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. And really what it comes down to is they like Justice Hill. And
they do.
Baltimore Ravens, he's a reliable player. And if I'm deciding between like an RB2, do I love Justice Hill? No, but definitively as a flex, especially in PPR leagues, because that's where he makes his hay is in the passing game. Last week he had a 20% target share, guys. 20%. If a running back's getting between like 10 to 12 to 15% in any given week, that's like we like that. That's fantastic. When they're at a 20% target share, that's elite usage. Now, I think we'd all agree it's probably not going to play out that way all the time. They were down. They were going up against the Chiefs. And other than that first touchdown they scored, they were behind pretty much the entire game. And that O-line, man, I don't know, guys. Like Baltimore, that used to be what they were known for. Tough, running the ball football. The O-line looked good. It did not look good last week. We had Mark Andrews going. He was blocking. He was basically playing the de facto left tackle last week, which I didn't love. It's going to shift. It's going to evolve. Don't lose faith in Mark Andrews. But this week, he had 8 targets last week. I think he's probably going to get 5 or 6 again this week. Gets 5 or 6 receptions, and his yards after the catch is pretty solid. So Lamar trusts him. I'm very happy starting my guy Justice Hill, and Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. How do you guys feel about Justice Hill? I know Brandon, you were on him too, so I like the
Yep.
the agreement there. Mike, what's your take on
Mhm.
Justice?
I think that John Harbaugh and the Ravens are the guy in your friend group that no matter where you go, he fucking closes. Like you roll into any bar, he picks the hottest girl, he's closing. For him, the Chiefs are the one girl that he just can't close. He
Yep.
loses it. He forgets his lines. I don't know why I said that. I picked my nose in front of her. Like he just loses his shit. And then the next time you guys go out, he's closing again. I think that we see Ravens football go back to Ravens football this week. They signed Derrick Henry for a reason. I think he's a guy that gets better with more run. He's going to have 26, 27 touches this week. I think that Justice Hill is still viable as a flex play, but I think you got to temper your expectations. I think it goes back to being a Lamar, Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews week. Kansas City has always played Mark Andrews rough. They bracket him. He ran a bunch of routes. He ran a bunch of routes. The last 5 or 6 times they've played Andrews, they've taken him away.
They're playing the Raiders.
Yeah, they're playing the
No,
Raiders.
last week. He's talking about last week.
Oh, last
They played
week.
the
Oh,
Chiefs.
sorry.
Last week when they played the Chiefs. Yeah. They've always
Sorry.
so like last week was an anomaly for what I'm saying is last week was an anomaly for the Ravens. I think you're going to see more traditional Ravens football. That said, Hill is still viable as a flex play. You just got to temper.
Yeah, what Mike is saying is Hill might be game script dependent. Where if they are in chase mode, Derrick Henry can't pass catch at all. So they put just Hill in those situations. But I think just because of the pass rush of the Raiders, there could be some check down opportunities with Hill. But I totally understand what you're saying, Mike. You're right. Because that was my concern.
Yeah, I'm saying he's viable as a flex play. I don't think that he is going to be the top scoring running back in that backfield this week. I think it flips back.
Oh, hell no. Derrick Henry going for 140.
He gets a bunch of touches and a touchdown, and Justice Hill catches 3-4 balls for 40 yards.
Yeah. Henry is going to have a King Henry game.
Yep. Yeah.
I like that. So what you're saying is I am going to be disappointed by Justice Hill once again.
He's a flex play. He's a flex play. 8 to 12 points.
He's a flex. Like all we're when we talk about flex plays, all we're trying to get is 12 points here. Like we're trying to get 11, 12 points. We're not trying to get if you're coming here thinking you're going to get a flex play that's going to be 30 points, that's just not realistic. Sometimes it will happen, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, J.K. Dobbins could do it if he gets all the work. Like he could do that for you, but like what we're trying to give you guys is a nice flex play that's going to give you a dozen points that you can count on. Like that's what we're trying to get you.
We're helping you filter through the dreck on your bench to put the best lineup together.
Pretty much.
Love it. Couldn't have said it better myself. Speaking of that, Dreck, let's just we got to throw a bone to our guy Flex Matt because he ain't here. The poor guy's at work on Saturday mornings. I'm sorry, Matt. I'm sorry, but we got to go.
The poor guy never gets to pod because you will never change the date.
Yeah, exactly. Disappointment is the Canadian way. Listen, I don't want to say that, but I'd say it's the North American way at this point. Let's just be frank.
Okay, you speak for yourself. We are undefeated in world wars.
Undefeated, bitch.
Let's move on. Okay, the trash heap. This is the Flex Matt special. I'm gonna have to make a graphic or something for this because I think this is gonna be a fun little weekly thing. So this is if you're in a deep dynasty league and you are scraping the bottom of the barrel and you need to make a decision. These are some of the guys that our guy Flex Matt enjoys. So the first trash heap player is Alexander Madison going up against Baltimore. We just talked about that game. Sure, let's go with that. Foster Moreau, he got in the end zone last week, gentlemen. Going up against the Cowboys this week. Okay,
watch him. He's in concussion protocol.
Yeah, it might be Juwan Johnson.
It might be Juwan Johnson.
I saw that Foster was clear though. I thought Foster was clear.
Oh, okay. Well, he just got dinged. That's a real thing. If he gets, you got a concussion issue possibly, and then you get dinged the next week. It's a possible thing.
I like that. And then Gabe Davis, Jacksonville going up against Cleveland. I don't know.
I'd unfriend you. That's not how it works.
I don't know. We've been burned so much by Gabe Davis, but let's go with it. It's crazy talk, baby. That's crazy talk. So that's it, boys. Brendan, I think let's we got to talk after the show, but we got to do this weekly segment. So just give me one of your parlays. Give me one of your parlays for the people. Just a taste, baby. Just a little taste to wet their beak.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a 4-legger, $25 to make $950. It's a plus 3,800. J.K. Dobbins to score, Mike Evans to score, Tank Dell to score, and Brian Robinson to score. Get those 4 in your lineup. You can change out Tank Dell. That one's probably the longest shot of all 3 of them. You could swap that out for Anthony Richardson rush touchdown or JT rush touchdown, and you can be in similar odds. So but core J.K. Dobbins, Mike Evans, B-Rob. If you don't like Tank Dell, throw yourself at Josh Jacobs, Anthony Richardson, JT. Those are the 3 that I would rotate through for that.
Why not just do a 6-leg parlay, Brandon?
I mean, you can for like. I'm trying to give him something that's.
I know. I'm just bugging.
It's hard.
I love it.
3,800 is ridiculous to that. Like, these are long shots, but we talked about most of these guys. Carlton Davis, Mike Evans is going to score. Carlton Davis is probably one of the worst corners in the league. He used to play for the Bucks. So Mike Evans literally has seen this guy every day in practice his whole career. Let's smash and make some money in parlays. And yeah, I'm excited. Week 1 was a great time. Week 2, this is when the public wins early in the season. Let's go.
I love that. And Brandon, you just mentioned something I think very, very sharp. Sometimes we don't have to shoot for the moon. Let's just get on base and run a few of these parlays, build up that bankroll. And listen, so for those of you who do want to learn a bit some more strategy, make sure you're following the DFS Army main channel as well as this DFS Army fantasy football channel. Make sure you're subscribed to the DFS Army podcast feed. You're going to get everything from our shows to the NASCAR shows to the UFC fighting shows. Strategy with the Geek. The Geeks, I think, had 3 shows this week talking about DFS strategy. And if you want to just take that information, build your own lineups, go check us out at dfsarmy.com, dfsarmy.com. Check out all the tools. My favorite tool is, of course, the matchup tool, but our flagship tool of the station is the domination station. That is our DFS Army lineup optimizer for FanDuel and for DraftKings. There's so much great content out there. Ultimately, what we want to do is we want to win money, right? Like, that's why we play the game. We play it for fun, but we play to win. And we're going to help you win every single week in your weekly season-long decisions. But the DFS Army main channel is definitely going to help you out with your lineup decisions and maximizing those roster decisions. Brandon?
What's great about the parlays is literally I hit on one parlay and I paid for all my fantasy football teams this year.
What's that?
All of them. And for the next year. So, like, that's the fun of parlays, baby. The funny thing is I put a bunch of guys that I was playing against that were smashing me. So that's a way to kind of hedge it, so the sting isn't as bad in fantasy because you won some money. So it's not too bad.
Hi, boys. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, and especially for tuning in to the end. We really appreciate it. Make sure you're subscribed. We're going to try to come live every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern or so. It just depends when Mike decides to show up for the show. But right around 11 o'clock Eastern, I got you, Mike. And we're going to be here. We're going to be with you all season. So good luck in NFL Week 2. For Brandon, for Mike, I'm Flex Shane, and we are the DFS Army Fantasy Football Show.
Big time, knowing that diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of